The tape sat in a cracked plastic case at the bottom of my mother's attic trunk, mislabeled in her shaky handwriting. 1989, my birthday. It smelled like dust and warm plastic, and the felt pads squeaked when I turned the spools with my thumb. My mother died last year. Going through her things felt invasive, like rummaging through a museum that had belonged to someone else. I don't have many memories before the age of 5. My father always said I was a quiet kid who liked building towers with blocks. There's a photo of me blowing out candles on a cake with red frosting, my cheeks puffed and eyes shut. Yet when I slid the VHS tape into my old player, the familiar blue screen blinked to black, and static hissed through the speakers like a sigh. What showed up next wasn't a birthday party. It was me, older, maybe 9 or 10, sitting on our living room floor with the same dusty brown carpet. My hair was different, longer. A bruise bloomed on my forearm that I don't remember getting. Behind me in the corner where the floor lamp used to stand, a tall silhouette loomed motionless. No one held the camera, yet it followed the figure with unnatural steadiness as it shifted almost imperceptibly closer. The me on the tape did not look at it. He just looked straight into the lens at me. I spent the rest of that evening hypnotized, letting the tape play through fuzzy scenes I don't remember. The tape showed me reading a book that I've never owned, then opening gifts I never unwrapped. Each time, the dark shape in the corner edged nearer, always at the periphery, always just far enough that I could explain it away as a coat rack or a shadow from the window. The lights in my apartment flickered on their own, and my dog growled at the blank television, even after I ejected the tape. I told myself it was an old home movie I had simply forgotten. Memory is fickle. Maybe my mother mislabeled the tape. Maybe she recorded over some television program. But when I rewound it to check, my own voice whispered faintly over the static, layered under the normal audio. The whisperer was reciting numbers that sounded like dates. September 7th, September 8th, October. Those dates hadn't happened yet. The whisper stopped when I pressed pause, resumed when I pressed play. My own recorded younger self never reacted, as if he couldn't hear the whisper at all. Curiosity pushed me deeper. I watched the tape again the next night, and the events had subtly shifted. In the birthday scene, I now handed a gift to the camera. The camera angle tilted as though someone, or something, had reached out to take it. The bruise on my younger self's arm had moved to the other arm. The shadow in the corner had grown taller, its head scraping the ceiling. When I slept, my dreams were filled with jittering, pixelated images like my mind was buffering. I woke up with my head buzzing, a copper taste in my mouth. I brushed my teeth until my gums bled pink into the sink. In the morning, there was a new bruise on my forearm in the same place as the one on the tape the first night. I decided to digitize the tape, thinking my VCR was creating artifacts. I borrowed a capture device and plugged it into my laptop. When I hit record, my software crashed. On the third attempt, the capture window finally displayed the footage in clean, crisp digital clarity. The shadow in the corner was no longer a vague blot. It had discernible features, long arms that hung past its knees, a neck that craned like an insect's. Its face was a distortion, like someone paused on a frame mid-transition. Every so often, it flickered, and for a single frame, it looked like me. The digital file was larger than it should have been, gigabytes more than a 2-hour tape. Scrubbing through it, I found segments I hadn't seen before. It showed my current apartment, present-day me sitting on my couch, watching the very tape I'd digitized. The angle was from the upper corner of my living room, near the smoke detector. I looked up at the ceiling on the screen, as though aware something was watching. In real life, I swore I felt eyes on me from that corner. I turned and stared at the smoke detector. There was nothing there but a small, blinking red light. I closed my laptop. The screen went black and reflected my face, except it wasn't my face. For a heartbeat, I saw the stretched, long-limbed thing staring back, its eyes 2 holes of static. I slammed the laptop shut and unplugged it. My heart thudded, lungs clamped by cold. When I called my sister to tell her about the tape, she laughed nervously and said, "Mom used to tell us not to watch that one." She thought it was just a superstition, some story about an analog god that lives between channels. She said she once tried to throw the tape away, but it would reappear in the attic as if it never left. Our mother claimed it had been given to her by a woman at church who whispered, "Don't look at the man in the corner." I started noticing gaps in my own memories, little skip edits. My coffee cup moved from the counter to the sink without me washing it. I found photos on my phone of me sleeping, taken from the doorway. Each had a timestamp exactly 1 minute after 3:33 a.m. I couldn't escape the feeling that the tape wanted to be watched. I tried to throw it away. I took it outside at 3 a.m., walked 2 blocks to the nearest dumpster, and shoved it under greasy pizza boxes. When I returned to my apartment, the tape sat on my kitchen table, damp with condensation, like it had been waiting patiently. This time, the label had a new date scrawled in my handwriting, October 21st. I unplugged every screen. Still, I saw the shadow in reflective surfaces, the window at night, the black mirror of my turned-off TV, the sheen on my stainless steel fridge. It was always farther back, as if trapped behind glass. But when I looked away, its reflection would be closer when I returned, details sharpening, like pixels smoothing in on a buffering video. I began to doubt my own reflection. When I brushed my teeth, my mirrored self lagged a fraction behind. When I blinked, it didn't. In my peripheral vision, hallways seemed longer than they were. Doors opened onto corners that shouldn't exist, glimpses of impossible angles. I started hearing static in quiet spaces, in the hum of my refrigerator, in the wind outside, in the tick of my own heartbeat. The whispering numbers on the tape began to align with my days. On September 7th, my neighbor slipped and broke his arm. On September 8th, a car crash blocked my usual route to work. Each date on the tape corresponded to a minor but unnerving event. October 21st, the new date on the label, wasn't far. Desperate, I visited the local library to research urban legends about cursed tapes. The librarian, an older man with cataracts, stiffened when I mentioned home videos and shadows. He took me to a microfilm machine in the basement and loaded up a newspaper clipping from 1993. The article described a family who perished in a house fire. Neighbors reported seeing the tallest member standing in the window, waving. He showed me a picture. The tallest member was longer than human proportions allowed. I recognized our living room curtains. Before I left, the librarian grasped my wrist with surprising strength. "If it starts copying you," he warned, milky eyes staring past me, "don't let it finish." October arrived, and with it, a sense of inevitability. I stopped sleeping. If I dozed, I'd jerk awake to faint static, the sound of a tape rewinding somewhere in my apartment. I barricaded my bedroom door and shoved furniture against it. Somehow, every morning, the door stood open, the furniture undisturbed, the tape on my nightstand. Each time, a new scene had recorded itself onto it. One scene showed me standing in my kitchen, chopping onions. The way I held the knife looked wrong, awkward, like a puppet. The camera lingered on my fingers as they hovered too close to the blade, stretching out the suspense. Another scene showed me walking down my apartment hallway, except the hallway was longer than it should be, lined with doors that don't exist. I tried to follow the hall, but it looped back on itself, geometry folding. That footage ended with the camera swinging back toward the kitchen, where the shadow shape now sat at my table, legs scrunched to fit under like a giant trying to play house. I decided to confront it. On October 20th, I set up my phone to record myself watching the tape. I spoke aloud to the static, asking what it wanted. At first, there was nothing but the hiss of tape reels. Then layered under the audio, my own voice responded. Not the whisper, but a clear, calm answer. I need to be remembered. My voice then listed details about my childhood that I had forgotten, secrets my mother told me, moments between me and my sister that no one else could know. It felt like the tape was coaxing me to accept it as truth. The night of October 21st came heavy with unnatural stillness. Even the city seemed quiet. I sat on my couch, tape in my lap. I considered burning it, but something in me, curiosity, compulsion, slid it into the player. The screen showed my apartment in real time. The camera slowly panned from me to the dark corner. The shadow stepped into the light. For the first time, it turned fully toward the lens. It was me, older yet young, stretched like a reflection in warped glass. Its eyes were empty sockets of static. Its mouth moved in jerky frames. "Switch," it said, my voice lagging out of sync. Before I could react, it leaned forward, its arms reaching out of the screen toward me. I jerked backward, falling off the couch. For a second, my living room warped. The walls breathed, the ceiling bulged. Then everything snapped like film burning in a projector. I sat up. The tape had ejected itself. The TV screen showed only my reflection, but the reflection didn't mimic me. It raised its hand as I sat still. It smiled when I didn't. It leaned closer until its mouth was pressed to the glass. "Thank you," it said in my voice. Then it turned away, walking deeper into the reflected room, disappearing into a hallway that doesn't exist behind my television. My living room was too quiet. Outside, the city noises were muffled, as if I were hearing them from underwater. I tried to call my sister, but my phone only displayed static. My laptop booted to a single video file named after me. When I played it, I saw myself pounding on a screen, eyes wide, screaming with no sound. Behind me in the corner of the room inside the video, a tall silhouette watched patiently, recording. I realized then that I hadn't escaped. I had been recorded over.